Hi children, I am going to continue Geography Lesson 1, Reading and Analysis of Maps. Now let us have a quick recap of what we learnt in the first part of the lesson. We learnt about the differences between a photograph and a map, and what is the history of maps, who prepared the earliest maps by Greek geographers, Sumerians, Babylonians, and also we learnt about the map projection that was done by Mercatus. And also we learnt about the discovery of new sea routes, how it was necessitated, how it became necessary for the Europeans to discover new sea routes, what was the need that we learnt. And I gave you some homework and I hope you have done it. Now let us enter into the lesson. Let us continue the lesson now. Now the next topic is projection in a map. What is this projection in a map? The world we are living is like a ball. That already we know. But if we draw it on a paper, we cannot show it as it is. Means we cannot show it like a ball. We have to draw it as flat. But it should look like a ball. This causes some changes in the exact shapes of the continents or distances or the directions, which we call as distortion. And Mercator devised a method for showing the correct shapes and directions of continents, but with slight changes in the sizes and distances. And this method is called Mercator's projection, which is still used to show the world on a map. Now, colonization, explorations, and map making. When Europeans colonized North and South America, Asia, Africa, and Australia, they almost colonized all the continents. And when the Europeans colonized all these continents, they sent scientific expeditions to all these continents consisting of map makers. In that team, there were map makers also, and many others were there, and these teams were sent to the continents to discover new parts of the world and prepare maps, to explore new parts of the world and also to prepare maps so that they could exploit these resources for their own use. They were also asked to gather information like climate, mineral resources available in the regions, crops, etc. And with the help of information gathered by these teams and also the maps prepared by map makers, the Europeans could easily establish their rule over the continents and exploit their resources. And when the Britishers colonized India, they established a department which was called as Survey of India. And the name itself indicates that to survey different parts of India, to survey the entire country, this department was established by the Britishers to find out the resources, which resources are available. They had to make a survey throughout the country so that they can exploit the resources. So when the Britishers colonized India, they established a department called Survey of India to survey the entire country and prepare maps based on that. And James Rennell, he was appointed as the Surveyor General and he prepared one of the survey-based maps of India. James Rennell, he was appointed as the Surveyor General and he prepared one of the survey-based maps of India. You can see this map. It was an early map prepared by the Britishers. In 1802, William Lambton, he began one of the most important geographical surveys in the world. And this survey was started from Chennai in Tamil Nadu, in the south, and it ended in the Himalayas. And the main purpose of this survey was to determine the length of a longitude and also the heights of various places. To determine the length of a longitude and also to find out the heights of various places, this survey was made by William Lambton in 1802. And this survey was completed by Sir George Everest. And it was this survey which established the Mount Everest as the highest peak in the world. Through this survey only, Sir George Everest, he confirmed that Mount Everest is the highest peak in the world. And that is why that peak has been named after Sir George Everest as Mount Everest. The peak has been named as Mount Everest after Sir George Everest, who completed this survey. Now, importance of map making. What is the importance of these maps? During times of war, the armies and the air force needed maps. Why they needed maps? They needed maps to find out the secret locations of their enemies. So, during First and Second World Wars, for your information, the First World War was fought during 1914 to 18 for a period of 4 years, and the Second World War was fought between 1939 to 1945 for a period of 6 years. And during these two world wars, map making gained much importance because the armies and the air force, they needed these maps to find out the secret locations of their enemies so that they can attack them. And many of the countries' governments used to keep such maps secret so that the enemies could not use them. Now, the use of satellite technology nowadays has completely changed the nature of map making. Maps are also used for planning development of countries. If we observe the maps of certain regions or places, we can also plan for the development of the country. If all the backward regions or places are developed, it leads to the development of the country. And if we can notice what are the regions or places which are backward and how it can be done with the help of maps. Maps are also used for planning development of the countries, and the planners, they are required to know the problems of a region. Unless we know the problem of a region, we cannot develop it. And to know the problem of a region, the maps help us. To know about the resources available, maps help us. So, with the help of map, we can know the problems of a region and we can also know about the resources available. For example, suppose in a region there is scarcity of drinking water. And it can be noticed with the help of a map of water availability or rainfall. Then, if we notice that certain regions are backward in drinking, there is no drinking water facility there, then immediately the government can take steps to provide drinking water. And then it can think of some other ways, alternative ways, how to provide drinking water to that region. And then if it is provided, and if all the regions get this drinking water, then the country will develop. Like that, these maps help in the overall development of the country also. The governments can plan development of countries based on the maps. And we can also plan agricultural development. And also for setting up of new industries also, these maps are useful. For building schools, for building hospitals, roads, for all these purposes, we can take the help of maps. And some companies, like mobile telephones, they also need maps of villages, towns, etc. for the spread of their network. As you know, the mobile telephone companies, they want to spread their network. And for that, they have to set up towers in different places. And for this also, they need maps of villages, towns, and cities. Now, let us see the different types of maps. Mainly, there are 3 types of maps. And they are physical maps, political maps, and thematic maps. What are physical maps? Maps which show physical features. What are physical features? Mountains, plains, plateaus, deserts, rivers. All these are physical features of a country or a state. So, these physical features are shown in a physical map. So, maps which show physical features like mountains, plains, plateaus, deserts, rivers, etc. by using different colors, they are shown in the map. Like blue for rivers, brown for hills and mountains. Like that, they use different colors to show different features. And these maps are called physical maps. Once again, I am repeating, maps which show physical features like mountains, plains, plateaus, deserts, rivers, etc. by using different colors like blue for rivers, brown for hills and mountains, etc. They are called as physical maps. And the second one is political maps. Political maps is maps which show political divisions. As you know, the continent is divided into countries, countries divided into states, states are divided into districts. So these are called political divisions. Maps which show these political divisions, they are called as political maps. So, how to define it? Maps which show political divisions like districts, states, countries, national boundaries, etc. They are called as political maps. And the third one is thematic maps. Maps that are prepared based on a particular theme like population, rainfall, soils, temperature. They are called as thematic maps. That means taking a particular theme, maps are prepared. Population, India's population. Population, the map will be showing population in different states. Like that, rainfall. Rainfall in different regions, different areas or different states will be shown. India rainfall. Under the heading India rainfall. Like that, taking a particular theme, maps are drawn. So maps that are prepared based on a particular theme like population, rainfall, soils, temperature, etc. They are called as thematic maps. Now you can see here, this is physical features map. Andhra Pradesh physical features map. Here you can see the rivers are shown in blue color and the coastal area which is agriculturally well developed, that is shown in green color. Like that, by using different colors, the physical features are shown. And next, these two maps are thematic maps. Thematic maps means taking a particular theme. The first one is rainfall. Taking rainfall as a theme, it is prepared. Which areas get how much rainfall in AP. You can see the index also, that is shown by using different colors. And also the second one is soils. Taking the theme soils, it is prepared. Now next one, how different colors are used for showing these physical features. For example, I am giving you 2 or 3 examples from this table. You can see this table in your textbook also. Dark green is used to indicate forests. Light green is used to show grasslands. And brown is used for land which is useful for agriculture. And yellow for cropped area in which crops are grown. And dark grey is used for mountains. Black is used for boundaries. And white is used for minerals, for places where minerals are available. Seas and oceans, dark blue. Like that, different colors are used for showing different physical features. And the next one is population density. What is population density? Number of people living per square kilometer area is called as population density, and it is expressed as persons per square kilometer. How is it expressed? Persons per square kilometer. The definition is number of people living per square kilometer area, and it is expressed like persons per square kilometer. And to account to 2011 census, India's population density was 382 persons per square kilometer. And you can see here in the table, the state of Arunachal Pradesh has the lowest population density. And the population density of Arunachal Pradesh is 17 persons per square kilometer. Per square kilometer area, only 17 persons live in Arunachal Pradesh. That is the meaning of population density. And the state of Bihar has the highest population density. That is 1102 persons per square kilometer. That is the highest population density in India. So in India, the highest population density is found in Bihar, which is 1102 persons per square kilometer. And the lowest population density is found in Andhra Pradesh, that is, Arunachal Pradesh, which is 17 persons per square kilometer. Now, conventional symbols. What are these conventional symbols? Symbols used conventionally by most map makers are conventional symbols. To show different things on a map, these conventional symbols are used by the map makers and they are called as conventional symbols. Now you can see this table in your textbook also. Textbook page number, it is page number 11. Page number 11 of the textbook. See, 1 or 2 I am explaining. For temples, the small picture of a temple is shown, like that lighthouse, the lighthouse is presented there, and to show the boundaries, international boundary, a gap and a dot, and state boundaries, it is little lighter and it will be not broad like international boundaries. and like what we say, post office, we write PO. PO indicates post office, and police station, PS, like that. Different indicators are there for showing different features. These are conventional symbols. These symbols are shown on a map. Then that means if PO is there, that means post office is there. PS is there, police station is there. Like that we can identify with the help of these conventional symbols. That is the use of these conventional symbols. And now contour lines. What are these contour lines? Lines on map joining places of equal heights measured from the sea level. As you know, the height of a place is always measured from sea level. And if there are lines on a map joining places of equal height, these lines are called contour lines. That means lines on map joining places of equal height measured from the sea level are called as contour lines. And these contour lines are also called isolines. Isolines means lines joining places with some common features. I'll give you some more examples for these isolines. For example, isotherms. Isotherms, these are the lines which connect places having equal temperature. If on a map, 5 or 6 places are joined together by using a line, that means all these places are receiving equal temperature. Isotherms means places having equal temperature, receiving equal temperature are joined together by a line, by using a line, and this line is called isotherms. And in the same way, isobars. Isobars means lines joining on a map receiving equal atmospheric pressure. Having equal atmospheric pressure, they are joined by using isobars. Isoheights, places which have equal rainfall, equal amount of rainfall, they are joined on a map by using isoheights. By using a line, we join such places which are receiving equal rainfall, and this line is called isoheights. So, isolines means lines joining places with some common features. Isotherms, places having equal temperature, they are joined together. Isobars, places having equal atmospheric pressure, they are joined. And isoheights, equal rainfall. And isohalines, equal salinity. If the ocean water has equal salinity, such regions in the ocean, they are joined by using a line, that is called as isohalines. Now, these contour lines are usually drawn at fixed intervals of height such as 20 meters, 50 meters or 100 meters. Always these contour lines are drawn at fixed intervals, 20 meters, 50 meters or 100 meters. And uniform contour interval is maintained on a given map. Now see, contour lines, if they are far apart, like in the first picture, you can see in the picture, in the first figure, the contour lines are far apart. They are far apart from each other. This represents a gentle slope. That means these areas have gentle slope. And if they are close, if these contour lines are close, like in the second picture, these closer lines, they represent steep slope. And uniformly spaced lines represent uniform slope. If there is uniform gap between the lines, they represent uniform slope. And if the gap between the contour lines is more, they are far apart, it represents a gentle slope. And if they are closer, contour lines are closer, they represent steep slope. Now that is the end of the chapter. Now I am going to give you homework. Read full lesson again and underline all the important points. Learn all the 1 mark and 2 mark question answers, each 2 or 3 times. Complete the blanks and MCQs in the material with the help of textbook.